Good morning again, everybody. Edward Kelley with 188 Deadline, answering your bankruptcy questions. We're getting near the end of the Chapter 13 overview series. So this is video 4, and we're going to talk about the cram down. So the cram down generally just applies to personal property and usually comes up in terms of a vehicle, 9 times out of 10. So what is a cram down? There's another powerful tool that you get through the Chapter 13. So let's take the example of a car, of course. So let's say that you have a car, just again to make it easy, worth $10,000. And generally, the bankruptcy court's going to take that straight off the blue book value. Sometimes that can be an argument, but um, let's, for the sake of this video, let's just say everyone agrees it's worth $10,000. And as often the case, especially with people going into bankruptcy, your loan, you owe $15,000 on it, much more than the value. It's what you call upside down. You have negative equity. And your interest rate is 25%. That sounds astronomical, but I've certainly seen it. So what can a cram down do for you? Well, here's what, when you can't do it, I'll start with that. There's a rule called the 910-day rule, which means that you can't use the cram down relief if you bought the car within 910 days. This was something auto industry lobbied hard for dealerships to protect themselves from people who buy a car and then immediately file a bankruptcy just for the purpose of lowering what they owe and their interest rate. Doesn't make some sense. So if you bought that within 910 days, then you cannot do this, somewhere between 2 and 3 years. If you're outside of that, here's what you can do. You take that car that you owe $15,000 on and cram it down. That's what I do for you. And lo and behold, you only owe $10,000 on the car. Well, actually, it's not quite that easy. There are secured and unsecured debts. We talked about that a little bit before. The secured portion of what you owe on that car, meaning the portion of debt that is secured by the collateral of that car, now becomes $10,000, equal to what it's worth. The other $5,000 then becomes an unsecured debt. So as is often the case, where most of the debt you're paying is debt you can't get rid of otherwise, or first on secured property that you want to keep, and then tax debt, and student loans, and other things that you're going to have to pay anyway. Often there's nothing left for the unsecured creditors. If that's the case, then you're only going to pay $10,000 to keep that car, because the unsecured debt goes into the pool with all your credit cards and everyone else, and that dealer is not, or a finance company is not going to get any of that. You're basically only going to owe $10,000 that you're going to pay. Second tool, the interest rate. So let's take your 25% interest rate. And this is not limited to whether you bought the car within 910 days or not. Some people don't understand that. You can cram it down. There's a case called Till. One of the parties in that case is where it comes from, where you can take that 25% interest rate and basically negotiate it down. And attorneys for the dealerships all understand this. And it varies with the prime rate of interest, but say you can get that 25% down to 5% or 6%. And it's a pretty straightforward process, which can be done in conjunction with the cram down, or if you're not allowed to cram down, you can just get that interest rate down. So it's another wonderful, powerful tool you get with the Chapter 13. So we're going to close out this series in the next video. We're going to talk about your disposable income and ways you can succeed in a Chapter 13, the best way to complete it and make it work. See you then at 188 Deadline. Thank you.